Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. On this podcast, we promote positivity, empathy, and compassion because we believe that kindness is alive and well, and there are people and organizations that you may not have heard of in the world, making their communities a better place for everyone. And we want you to hear their stories. On this podcast, we talk about matters of kindness because kindness matters. Hey, hello, and welcome everybody to the Kindness Matters podcast. I am your host, Mike Rathbun. Thank you. I'm not sure that you out there listening realize just how much it means to me that you took 30 minutes-ish out of your day and you chose to listen to this podcast. Thank you. Talk about kindness. That is an act, and you do it because you like it, and thank you for that too. If you hear something on this podcast, and with the guest I have today, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that you're going to hear something that you absolutely adore. Feel free to tell your friends and your relatives and your coworkers and that weird guy on the corner about this podcast and tell them, you're able to find some place to go and listen to uplifting, light content that, and that's a rare thing in this world today, isn't it? So please share. Since I was talking about my guest today is Lisa Zaratny. Did I do that right? I did that right. I got it right, Lisa?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you did.
Oh, okay. Boy, I didn't hear you for a second. I thought I messed it up. Lisa is the founder of Positively Productive Systems and the host of the Positively Living podcast. And I could try to tell you what she's been through in her life and how she got to where she is today, but I would not do that story justice, so I'm going to leave that one for Lisa. Thank you for coming on the show today, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike. I am delighted to be here. You are so right. Kindness is what we need to seek out every chance we get. It's what, they say, the saying, all you need is love, and kindness is right there with it.
I just went to Love Actually.
Love that movie.
Wah, 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 wah.
Exactly. You knew I was thinking that because, music lyrics.
I didn't know you were thinking that, but okay. Yeah. And so now you are a coach, is that correct?
That's correct.
A coach as well as a podcaster. But there was something that made you be a coach. But you had to go through a lot to get there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us all about it. Spill the tea, girl.
Okay. And I do call myself a productivity coach, probably because the word productivity is a thing that we understand, or at least we understand that we want. And I'm out to do it differently. I'm out to do it with compassion. So I just wanted to set the stage because that's where we connected with the idea of compassion and kindness. And why does that matter? So yes, let's back up and I'll do my best to give you in a nutshell my origin story of this. And it is that
all superheroes need one.
I'd like to think so, right? I look good in a cape, but don't we all? Because we are heroes of our own journey here. And so I'll tell you mine, which is that I was a caregiver for my mom. She had Alzheimer's, and I cared for her for close to 5 years, while at the same time going through 2 pregnancies, so having 2 kiddos. And at one point, I had an infant, a toddler, and a mom, not really sure who I was, sundowning, doing all the things that happen with an advanced kind of cognitive decline.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, I don't. sometimes I struggle to describe this because I'm an inherently very positive person. I can look back at this with gratitude. I know that it was a gift to me to reframe my life and my appreciation for life and to put me on the path to where I am.
Yeah.
But I also want to acknowledge, for the sake of other caregivers especially, that it was as difficult, if not more, than what you think it was based on hearing those words, understanding the disease that she had, the fact that she was my mom, that during a time in which I would have loved to have help from my mom, instead, I needed to care for her as well. It nearly broke me. It didn't, but it nearly did.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine um, being that person. It's so tough. I mean, doubly tough for you because you don't have just one person to take care of. You've got three at least, right? Two babies and a husband.
Yes, he's an amazing guy, but he had to help take care of us too in his own way. He
Yeah.
was, working daily. We had a business we were trying to run. We were barely getting by despite the fact that we gave everything we had. So you're right.
Yeah. Oh, and then you got the business to take care of. I Did we talk about what that was? I don't remember.
No, actually, he and I had a wedding photography business. So he had his day job, IT guy. We had a wedding photography business, and that we eventually had to, just sort of, we had
Sacrifices
to.
had to be made.
Yeah, exactly. So we had to move on from that. We did the best that we could during the course of time. But there was a time when I was caring for mom, had a baby, and was still a wedding photographer, and just trying to juggle all of it. And eventually, we made a shift. But then that, of course, was a financial hit for us. So yeah, these were all the things that we were juggling, and it was at times as impossible as it sounds.
Yeah. That is a lot of plates in the air. Wow. Because yeah, and I mean, I've started a business. I know myself how what that's like,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't imagine all those other layers on top of it. Um, but and you say something on your website that I thought was um, where was it? I don't. You talk about um, after all that was over, and you looked around and you went, "Whoa!" And I'm putting it in a nutshell, I think. But talk about that a little bit because that kind of that's really the direct line from where you are today to where you were back then, right?
Absolutely. So setting the scene, right, we have the caregiving, which is survival mode. And what happens in survival mode? You basically jettison everything that is a negotiable, and everything that you're like, I can deal with later or not deal with or ignore or pretend it doesn't exist, in some fashion. And I'll catch up with that later. And even sometimes some things that you really did need to tend to, you have to prioritize. You have
Yeah,
to prioritize surviving and sometimes your own rest or your own whatever. And I wasn't even doing a lot of those things. So when my mom passed and that part of the caregiving was over, still had the kiddos, but, at least it was less than. And when you're that overwhelmed, that actually feels a bit more realistic. There was something in me that said, you have stuff to deal with, because there was also this other part it's very normal for us, I think, to do this when we are in a life transition, when we're changing, when a chapter closes, we're like, what's next? What do we have to do? Or, trying to get back to what you did. It's all of these tendencies. And
yeah,
I had those thoughts like, do I get a job now? What do I do? And thank goodness I said, whoa, whoa, like that's a lot piled up around me, like even physically bins of paperwork, of mail that came in. I'm not the bills, we took care of what we had to, but again, tons of things that weren't addressed. And I thought, I really need to clear a path. I need to clean out and sort of take stock of where my life is. And I wasn't even thinking consciously about the fact that that would also allow me to process where I was as a person, as a caregiver, as someone who has a change in their role, if you will. I hadn't even thought about what that would mean for processing grief and all those other things. So this is a little bit of foreshadowing, right, for
Right.
what happened when I started to clear that path. And it was the most basic form of decluttering, but it's how I learned decluttering is so incredibly healing. And I kept taking these steps, clearing a path, realizing 6 months down the road, I kind of realized I haven't properly grieved for my mom. It was very complex because when you're so relieved to not have to do more than you're capable of, you're kind of in this almost disassociated kind of state. So this whole process of cleaning out, clearing out, um, taking stock of where
Yeah.
I am, where I was, and even where I'm going was so incredibly healing that I thought, okay, this is amazing. I want to help other people do this. I started having conversations, and I can remember my first client saying, I want to declutter too. Can you help me do what you just did for your family? And I was like, of course I can. And we were having a cup of coffee, just checking in, and she
Yeah.
was saying how overwhelmed she was with the stuff. And that led me to become a professional organizer and help people declutter and open up their spaces in their world. And to take it one step further, the minute I walked into someone's home and got to know them and took their trust in me, which still means so much, I'm so honored to have had that. The minute I saw that it wasn't just about the stuff. Yeah, the stuff is there, but
Yeah.
that stuff came from somewhere. Where did it come from? The head and the heart.
Yeah.
And it hit me. I was like, oh, that is why I wanted to become a coach, because I figured if we could get there first, everything else will work itself out. And I absolutely believe it does. And for years, I've been working with people now. Organizing and decluttering is definitely part of the process, a lot more virtual now. But that is 100% what happens, is that when you get to your head and your heart, you deal with your grief, you deal with your trauma, you understand how you work, you honor your passions, you live in a very full and honest and authentic and kind way. You
Right.
will clean out the mess. It will resolve itself.
Is it, and I know people, and when we talk about decluttering, we're talking about figuratively and literally, right?
Yeah. I'm so glad that you said that. So it started with the physical. I was a professional organizer. I would go in, we're dealing with, a crazy living room or a bedroom or a kitchen that you can't function in or whatever. It was actual physical rooms. But I realized with the head and the heart that there's so much clutter that happens in our life. So what I refer to is whole life decluttering. It's absolutely figurative, or it's intangible, if you will. It's mental, it's emotional. We have clutter in all aspects of our lives. But the good news is that understanding how to deal with it actually across the board is very similar.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Just, and I've heard this before from friends and family. When you look at something and you're looking at all of it, and it's so overwhelming to think about, where do I start? And the best advice I ever got was, when you have a problem or when you have a situation, start in one place, clean it up, get it done, and then move on. Is that is that the advice you give, or does that have any validity?
It has validity. It may not exactly be what I give, although I can understand the benefit of it. So if it feels like something that you need, and that's a big part of how I work as a coach, is understanding you personally and how you work best, right? So if it's
Right.
something you need, the reason why that would work is because, well, there's a number of reasons. One is taking action reduces our anxiety. Always a good thing, right? Okay.
Yes.
Right. And number two would be that when you take action, just like when you are starting a habit, you build momentum. And that momentum builds your muscle for the decluttering, gets you used to it. It encourages you because you can start to see progress. It does all the things psychologically that you need to move forward. So I think it's a very valid suggestion.
Okay.
Now, what I tend to suggest is more of a framework. I actually created a framework called the Simple System because I like that idea of it really is simple and we're making it too complicated with, oh, do we have to buy bins and organizers or how do I, treat my to-do list or wherever the clutter is.
Right.
It really comes down to simplifying why you're doing it in the first place. Now, it's not always easy to do it or easy to make the decisions, but making those decisions create what I call filters in your life.
Oh,
Those filters tell you what belongs and what doesn't. And once you know what belongs and what doesn't, think about how simple decluttering becomes.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Oh. And speaking on a literal declutter level,
Mm-hmm.
I, years and years ago, I my mom was living by herself out in Denver, Colorado, and one year she had a hip replacement, and then a year later she had breast cancer, and I said, "That's it." My brother lived in Billings, Montana. I'm out here in Minnesota. She's in Denver. I'm like, "You're too much trouble on your own. You're coming to live with us." So, and she didn't live with us, but she's in the same area, and she's like, I have no idea what to do with, 50, 60 years of stuff that I
Mm-hmm.
have. And they had moved a lot. Her and my dad had moved a lot. We grew up in Billings, Montana. When my brother and I both left home, they moved to San Diego. They bounced around San Diego like 2, 3 different cities there in the metro area, and then they moved to Denver. And it's like, so they did shed some of that along the way, right? Some of the stuff, um, but and so I came out and I said I will help you get this stuff down to just what you need to move out to Minnesota with. And I was like, okay, when was the last time you used this? And I
Right?
recognized it. It was the same picnic setup that my parents would take when we would go on road trips to Yellowstone National Park, right? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact you haven't even looked at this in 30, 40 years. I said, why are you keeping it? Are you keeping it for a reason? No.
Exactly. So yeah, oh man, Mike, I give you a lot of credit for doing that. It is a hard thing to do. I had to do that when I moved my mom in, and I ended up doing something that I refer to as reverse decluttering. And
Oh,
I actually have an episode about that on my podcast. And that's where when you have something where you have so much going on that's so overwhelming, then you think about instead what space you are trying to create. And that would be maybe the new space you're moving to. And you only take what you want in that space. So you focus more on what you want to keep as opposed to what you want to remove. And that can be a little easier. So we went through my mom's house, same idea. 40, 50 years
yeah.
and they were collectors, love to go to auctions and things like that. So it's it was as overwhelming as you're imagining at this moment. And so we walked through and I had color coded like index cards and
Oh, you
different
were
labelers and
much
things
more
like that.
sophisticated than I.
Well, this is why I became a professional organizer, right? But anyhow, the concept was still there, which is walking through and saying what's jumping out that in your heart you're like, I can't be without that. I can't move without that thing. I want that in my space, with me, using it, honoring it, all that. And so we answered those questions and we answered it for her and for me because it was moving into my space, and it became quite the project, but that reverse decluttering made it easier. But you're questioning about like Have you used this in a long time? Why are you keeping it? Asking those questions are things we don't ask ourselves. We're just
No.
in automatic mode. We forget we have stuff. And sometimes it's well, I might use it and all those things. But the minute you're like, oh, I have to move it now. I tell you, if we
Whole
could all
different
just
story.
pretend that we're going to move, we can declutter in a big way pretty fast.
When she passed in 2015, my brother came out and we were going through her stuff. I mean, she had gotten down to like a 1-bedroom apartment and then a storage area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, there was really no other. There were some cousins in the area, but really nobody who would be interested in her things. I gave away some jewelry that I thought she would want. Nothing. She never really owned anything of high value jewelry wise, right? But yeah, we were brutal. We were brutal cleaning her place out. It was like, first of all, the clothes can go. Second of all of this, I asked some friends if they wanted silverware and dinner plates and that kind of thing. The woman never cooked. So
But
there
probably
wasn't
had
a
such a
lot there. There
collection,
wasn't any
right?
pots and pans.
Okay.
It's a long story about my mom. But anyway, but yeah, my brother and I, we were just brutal. And I look back on it afterwards and I went, gee, I wish maybe I hadn't thrown that away. But what am I going to do with it? It'll just be there for my kids to throw away when I go, right?
Yeah. It's never easy, especially when you talk about sentimental decluttering, right? And you have to make the best choice you can at the best time and honor that choice, whatever it is. And conversely, one of the things I tell clients all the time, and I've been on many podcasts just talking about this one specific topic, is that if you come across something where you aren't sure, even though like logically you're like, this is ridiculous, I shouldn't keep this picnic basket, we're never going to use it. If any part of you says, I'm not ready yet, you honor that and you keep it.
Yeah.
But you do the best you can in the moment. Whenever it comes to that kind of decluttering, caregiving, all the things we're talking about, it's an impossible situation. So you do what you can, and you and be good with it, and know that you did the best you could.
I have not had a chance. There was an episode. I was going through your podcast, and I haven't had a chance to listen to the episode. Oh my goodness, it's like an hour long. No-cost self-care tips for chronic illness.
Oh, yeah, that is it's unusual. Most of the time, my guest podcasts are maybe like 40-ish minutes, and most of the time, my solo episodes are maybe 15 on average, maybe 20 at the most. Yeah. This one is unusual in that it's longer because it was specifically for those with chronic illness, and she had such a fantastic list that touched upon topics that we talked about on the podcast before. It was such a great list that we had to go through it. So, once you get a top 10 or top 11, it goes for a while. But the best part is that it's filled with gold. It's a great ideas that we've talked about before. And she helped us understand that within the context of self-care for someone with a chronic illness. And I thought that was such an important topic.
Oh, for sure. Self-care is so important. And I think you and I kind of touched on that when we talked. Yeah. I'd look at my notes, but my cat's sitting on them.
That's self-care, having a cat.
Self-compassion, I think you called it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Self-compassion, self-care, kindness, all of that it's healing. And we need that in order to be most productive. Oh my word, I'm watching this cat be so sweet and so loving right now. And the nose boops.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh boy. I lock the dog upstairs for this reason when I'm recording. Are you happy? Nobody's going to know. This is an audio podcast.
Well, I'm telling you right now, this cat is adorable, and I can 100% guarantee this cat is also highly satisfied with not only the love, but the disruption.
Yes, both. She accomplished two things with, are you coming back? Okay. Anyway, because all of this kind of ties into kindness, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And not in a Marie Kondo kind of way.
I love that you brought her up. Can I just say something quickly about that? And I say this with all
I
the
would
love and
love if you
respect to
would.
her. Her concept of does it spark joy is really good and really simple. And that's the reason why it became so popular and it took off like a house of fire.
Right.
Pun sort of intended for the spark part, but it was the idea of ask yourself this question and create this filter, and then you answer it. But I took issue with the fact that it is oversimplified for the lives that we have, for the situations that we're in. You
Yes.
can, it's all well and good to be like, these shorts don't spark joy, but am I in a financial situation where I can go buy others? Do I need to have a pair of them for whatever reason? Like, it's a little too oversimplified. But the fact is that when you're introducing a concept to masses, tons of people, and you're not able to talk to them about their personal situation, you need to create a system that is super simple and almost universal. So the way that I described it was that my framework is actually taking her question plus so many others that you need to be asking yourself to make a better, more informed choice about the clutter. So,
Right. And that's why your service is so much, because you tailor it to a specific person, and and yes, you can afford to go much deeper than does it bring me joy.
right. But even on the simplest like level of listening to my podcast, or understanding the framework and kind of trying to do it yourself, it still involves more detail than hers. And to that point, this connects beautifully to what we're talking about with kindness and compassion. See, I needed to be productive when I was a caregiver. I needed to be organized, and some of it, I guess, I had in me. We have these tendencies, we have these abilities and strengths, and I definitely had those. But I can remember that during this really dark time, this really difficult time, when people would have suggestions like a Marie Kondo or anyone else, try this, do that, or the just do this kind of,
Oh,
that word just really, it brings my hackles up, right? What I needed more than anything during that time was compassion. I needed for that to come from people who were trying to give me suggestions. I needed to have it come from myself, because a lot of times we take on what other people suggest. Oh, I should be, the shoulds, right? I should be doing this. That should be simple. Why am I not doing this? Is it something wrong? Am I lazy? No, I'm not lazy. I'm caring for a mother with cognitive decline and two children who are under the age of 2. Are you nuts? There's nothing lazy or problematic about what I'm doing. And yet we get caught in this trap of shame and guilt. And what is it? So what I needed probably more than anything was not how to do my to-do list or organize a cupboard. I needed compassion. I needed to understand self-kindness and self-awareness and self-acceptance. And that, if you take nothing else away from this conversation, is the driving point of how I still help us do the things, get the stuff done, achieve our goals, is through that lens.
yeah, because when we have a problem, there are usually no shortage of people telling you what you should be doing or how you should be doing it. And really, all we need is for somebody to listen to us. And, you know, I don't know. But there are compassionate people out there. And I always say on this podcast, the kindest thing you can do for another person is not to buy them a cup of coffee. It's to say, how are you doing? And then listen. Just listen.
I
How are
love
you
that.
really doing?
Yeah. Well, you and I have that in common. We're like, forget the small talk. Yeah, it's a nice day out, but seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I know everything's fine. How are you really?
Yeah. Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's burning around you. The world is
Right.
literally burning down. So go ahead and talk to me about how hot the flames are today. Okay, let's just do
Yeah,
this.
absolutely.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. That listening ear. But think about that too to ourselves. That we do that to ourselves, asking ourselves how we're doing and really listening. And is this working for you? And yeah, you're trying to, and this is the context that I coach in, right? Is that we're trying to quote be productive, right? To be organized, to set up a system, to try a habit, to do the things, to get the stuff done, to look at our calendar and create a calendar that's going to work for us, and then do the things on the calendar. And we're running late and we're feeling stressed and we're struggling with all the things. And yes, we want to keep improving that and we want to fix it and we want to do better. And those are all good things. But
right.
also, have we said, hey, hey, how you doing? No, really.
No, really.
Yeah,
And that's just the thing because it's actually easier for us to be compassionate to another person than to be compassionate to ourselves, isn't it?
so true. So true.
And
Yeah.
it's so much easier to look at another person, realize they're upset or realize they're overwhelmed or stressed out or whatever it is. But when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we don't recognize it or see it or what?
Or
Do you
don't
think?
allow it sometimes, I think. Yes, all of the above. But I think don't allow it just came to my mind because it's you're exhausted, but why? Why can't you do this? I think we default more to oh goodness, I've had so many clients who even come to me and we go through something that feels very logical, very simple, right? Very straightforward to them, very much, I knew this.
Right.
But it's like, but why couldn't I get myself to do it? Or what's wrong with me? It's again, it's that default to I did something wrong. And I don't know why we have that in us, but well, it's a combination of things. Sometimes it's how we've been taught, how we've been raised. Sometimes it's simply that society is built for a specific kind of productivity and kind of system that not all of us are built for. So we feel like outsiders. And the minute that happens, there's right when you don't fit in, it's not, oh, well, the group wasn't built for me, so that's the problem. It's like, no, I'm the problem. It's a default way that we have of seeing things. And so that's probably why my people are the caregivers, are the creatives, the multi-passionates, are the ones with chronic illness, and definitely the neurodivergent, because they're always the,
Yeah.
square peg, round hole kind of scenario in traditional productivity approaches. And the first thought is, I'm doing this wrong. And I'm like, no, the thought needs to be, that's wrong for you. Let's find the right way.
And that's the thing with neurodivergent people, right? Because they're always been hearing, well, probably not. If their parents are good people, probably not. But from peers as they
Mm-hmm.
were growing up, more than likely, why do you do it that way? That's so weird.
Right. Or teachers who are like, you need to do it this way. And then sometimes the parents, even if they are kind and they do understand, I have this, well, they're going to give words, right? Like quirky kid or a kid who constantly moves or whatever it happens to be. They
Right.
understand that. They may be wonderful about it, but then you have a teacher who's like, they're not paying attention. They're not doing things the way we want them to do in this particular microcosm. And then as a parent, you want to do what's right, which is get them through school successfully. And so then you have to kind of force them. It's very convoluted and very unfair in many circumstances, but
Yeah.
that's what we're dealing with.
Right. Right. So you work with a lot of
Like,
neurodivergent.
yes, yeah, the ADHD is big in my world. I live in a sea of ADHD. My children have it. My husband has it. I diagnosed him, actually.
Did
No,
you?
I'm not saying I don't have the credentials to do so. I do have a certification in ADHD management, but I'm saying I'm not like a
Right.
doctor, but I did figure out based on
But I play
checklists.
one at my home.
Yeah. But I do want to add that those very same people are the creative, incredibly focused, incredibly unique, wonderful people who have I think, the most amazing superpowers. And
Yes.
so I delight in advocating for them, in showing them a world where they are doing things we could never dream of. And all we need to do is come up with a few modified systems, and they'll still pay their bills on time and get to their appointments when they need to and do the things they need to do and be productive and be organized. Yay. But then also keep doing those mind-blowing
Magical.
things that they do in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Lisa, it was absolutely amazing having you on today. I really appreciate your insight into this. And there will be somebody out there, and maybe it'll only be one person. Somebody is going to hear your message and go, that's me. And if you are that one person, look into the show notes, because you will have Lisa's link to her website, and you can go work with her. We'll also have the link for the podcast in there. And you brought such value to this show. Thank you.
Thank you for doing what you do and for bringing kindness to light, because we do need this more than ever. And I really appreciate the platform to share my perspective on compassion and our focus on making sure that we turn it into ourselves. So thank you, Mike.
Oh, thank you. All right. Enough gushy stuff. Don't. Because if you start, I'll start. Thanks, Lisa. We will talk again soon. Have a great rest of your week. I want to thank you for taking this time to listen to this episode with my guest, Lisa Zawrotny, and I hope that you're able to take something positive from the time you spent with us today. Maybe you'll be inspired, maybe you'll be motivated, maybe you'll be moved. If you experienced any of those positive feelings, please consider sharing this podcast with your friends and family. I'm always striving to offer you a better podcast, so give me some feedback. Let me know how you think I'm doing. Leave me a review on whatever platform that you listen to this podcast on. Send me an email. There are so many ways to get a hold of me and let me know what you think about the podcast, what you think I'm doing wrong, what you think I'm doing right, whatever. And make sure that you're following us on all of our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube. Just go out and look for us and you'll find us, and go ahead and subscribe and follow, please. That would mean the world to us. This podcast is part of the Mayday Media Network. If you have an idea for a podcast and you need some production assistance, for example, or you already have a podcast and you're looking for a supportive network to join, check out MaydayMediaNetwork.com and check out the many different shows they have, like Afrocentric, Spoil My Movie, Generation Mixtape, In a Pickle Radio Show, Wake Up and Dream with D'Anthony Palin, Stacks O'Pax, and the Time Pals. We will be back next week with a brand new episode and a brand new amazing guest, and we would be honored if you would join us. You've been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. Have a great week.